Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Sumpoorn MSME conversations this month. We have the Sumpoorn number for September has come out at 0.58, which is exactly the same index that it was last year. It's 0.57 in August last month. So essentially what we have been seeing over the past few months is a very slow pace of growth, very muted pace of growth for MSME sales activities. This is also validated by the SIDBI MSME outlook, the round 4, which recently, the results came out recently, where they've said that July, September, the second quarter for the year, especially for manufacturing, it was just 47% of those surveyed said that sales growth was better in Q2. And in Q1, this share was 54%. So there is a kind of a slight moderation in the second quarter. Pessimism also is a little higher in the second quarter for manufacturing. It's about 15% of the MSME manufacturers showed pessimism as far as the sales growth is concerned in Q2, compared to 7% only in Q1. So there's some moderation. Going forward, their outlook is, of course, very optimistic. They're back to 54% for the next quarter. 54% of those surveyed said that sales growth is going to be good in the third quarter, but pessimism is still around 13%. So it's kind of moderated. When it comes to services, everything is around the same. There's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of optimism as far as services are concerned, and trading as well. So it's essentially manufacturing that seems to be slightly, can I say, a bit subdued. So on the other hand, we've just gone through a fantastic Diwali season with sales, I think, just booming, and the highest ever Diwali sales recorded. So Narsi, I'd like to ask you, what is your impression of the festival season that just concluded?
One very standout information is the sales numbers, especially in the month of October for two-wheelers. And the growth has been so very huge. It's very close to the 50% mark. And I just have the data here for a quick reference, and it makes for very cheerful reading. Two-wheeler sales touched 3.15 million in volume, vis-a-vis October 24 being just a tad under 2.1 million. It was 2.07 million. So nearly 50% growth. And I don't think one could ask for anything better, given the fact that September wasn't all that great, but very understandably so, because it was more lying in wait or in anticipation of the transmission of the GST 2.0, which came slightly closer towards the third week. So the run up to it in terms of when the sales will actually kick in, and most of it started kicking in from September 22nd or so. Yes, offers were put out, but they, I think, translated into much more concrete numbers throughout the month and given the festivities as well. When I looked at, to me, always the auto sector and some sectors like the fast-moving consumer goods, those areas, the QSR, etc., are very indicative of the level of economic activity as well as an endorsement of the consumer confidence. You look at, however, the light motor vehicles, i.e. the passenger vehicles, I would have expected much more robust numbers, but I guess given the fact that the PV market definitely involves in a much more multiples of a two-wheeler price, naturally people like to wait and make more informed decisions and to be able to then choose the right models they want. So perhaps it is not yet in full bloom as far as the consumption numbers are concerned, but nevertheless, a quick look at the numbers for four-wheelers, especially the passenger vehicles, Maruti has been a standout with 18% year-on-year growth, very closely followed by Tata Motors at 13%, Mahindra at 9% growth. Skoda, of course, the volumes are smaller, so the percentages may not be very, very meaningful, but Skoda, Volkswagen collectively as a group, they showed a 34% increase, and which is pretty impressive because a large section of it is high value cars. The surprising one is though Hyundai, which showed a decline, as well as Honda. So it's been a slightly mixed bag there. And I have taken only the two-wheeler and four-wheeler as slightly more representative of the auto sector, though we should be looking at the heavy commercial vehicles or the goods vehicles, as we call it, the LCVs and MCVs or MHCVs. There, it's slightly a mixed bag. And I am definitely sure that this number would start a much better pickup. And one very, very interesting reinforcing data that I probably would like us to delve deeper into, I mean, these are very initial reactions, is the e-way bill volumes. And we all know that e-way bill is a must, or it's mandatory, depending on the distance traveled, which should be, I think, 50 kilometers and more, or in terms of the value to be higher than 50,000 rupees. And when I looked at the e-way bill data, in terms of the volumes, the movement of goods intrastate and interstate, there does seem to be a pickup in the velocity of the e-way bills. I don't know, Sumita, maybe do you think it is suggestive of more economic activity, there is picking up of it? Because goods have, if they're moving across the length and breadth of the country, I'm sure the manufacturing sector and the distribution sector should all be participating in that to be able to move goods right across everywhere, you know. So I don't know what your thoughts are.
So for September, I think the e-way bills did some record number of, and they had more than 20% growth as well. So it was really a robust, the logistics, like you said, all the services sector part that comes as part of that. As far as manufacturing goes, it will probably be lagged by a little bit. So because this is the movement, you'll see the services in the trading part, which is more impacted with movement across states. Generally, everything has been very positive and optimistic, even on the exports front. All the concerns that people had a few months ago definitely seem to have dissipated because the diversification strategies that they have been put in place over the last 6 months have, I think, proved quite fruitful, because the data for merchandise exports, we're still up by 6.7% in September, even though for the US, which is our largest market, it fell by 11.93%. So, if you look at sectorally, you have things like, say, ready-made garment exports. They're growing to UAE, France, and Japan, while they fell for America. For marine products, for me personally, like coming from Maharashtra, you're always a little bit more concerned about them. Exports to the US were down something like 26% in September, but China, Vietnam, and Thailand rose above 60%. So all in all, there is an effort which had been made to diversify and move away from this US dominance. It seems to be making, showing some results, which is quite encouraging. Kind of this bogey, this Trump, scare that we all had February, March, April, I think has now settled considerably for that.
Okay. That's quite encouraging.
Yeah, even for the monsoons, like we were quite worried that the monsoons.
Yeah, that's been a big area of concern for you. Even last time when we discussed, you were expressing a lot of concern that the monsoons not being very evenly distributed across the country. With some states witnessing very heavy rainfalls that could be causing some significant disruption, is what you felt. But what is
Yeah.
your view now?
So now I think it's Punjab and Rajasthan are still showing some amount of decline, but overall for the entire country, we seem to have caught up and stabilized. But again, till we have the numbers in completely, would have a better picture of whether it was a overall gain or not. But definitely the worry that was there in August is much less now. But then at a disaggregated level, and I think we'll talk about this later also. There is an impact for at a local level for firms as well as for bank portfolios. So we'll go into that a little bit later.
Right. Coming to the credit side of things, Sumita, I did see that the vehicle loan numbers, based on the data that I have, for September 25 has been pretty soft. And that was expectedly so, at roughly 7%.
Yeah, it's about the same for October as well. Yeah, October is around 7%.
That is a bit of a surprise, right?
Yeah.
One would have anticipated that given the lift in the vehicle sales volumes, it should have also translated into rather much larger numbers from a auto loan distribution perspective. So, perhaps we just need to look at it a little closely to run the numbers across.
Yeah, so the two other things that are also showing up in the credit data. One is that credit for consumer durables is negative, right? But against gold jewelry is still going more than 100%. So that year-on-year growth. So I'm not too sure whether there is some kind of a rebalancing of where the money is coming from. Also, if people are borrowing on EMIs, for instance, and if those terms have become a little bit more concessionary, that also may be factoring in somewhere.
So what's your conclusion? I mean, what do you feel? I mean, is it that you're seeing, if you're seeing consumer durable loans going down, that's a sign of concern, right, for us, since that's heavily tied into the MSMEs in terms of the last mile distribution and so many small units that are thriving based on being able to do the retail side of things, especially the mobile phones and the TVs, the mixers and whatnot, what have you.
So that does explain why it is a concern, and probably does explain to some extent why our growth, we still aren't seeing that, that big boost in growth in MSME sales activity through our Sumpoorn index, probably holding it back a little bit.
Yeah, it could be. But one more observation, and I think we should be definitely taking note of it, is the way the index has worked across various states. And I was glancing at numbers and saw that Maharashtra had the highest lift in terms of the Sumpoorn index from 0.53 to 0.64.
Yeah.
When I looked at Haryana as well, very similar, 0.53 to 0.62. Tamil Nadu jumping from 0.53 to 0.59. And these have been really good. Whereas when I looked at those that have been somewhat modest in terms of the uptick, Tamil Nadu, it's indeed robust, moving to 0.59 from 0.53. But Karnataka, Telangana and West Bengal have seen declines. So we perhaps will need to understand what probably caused it. Is this likely to reverse so that the real lift is going to come from these states as well, where the overall Sumpoorn for the country as well could see some benefit in the numbers adding up to a much better index value.
Yeah, much better index value. We're still waiting for that to kick in.
Yeah, so we should definitely get into more detail on that, perhaps to understand and infer or get some more insights is something that I would be keen on. I wanted to also touch one important point before. Much has been written about the GST collections, right? When I looked at the GST collections in October 25, because it therefore relates to September, it has been at 1.95 lakh crores. And the growth vis-a-vis October 24 was fairly modest at under 4.5%. One of the lowest growth in collections that I can recall in the last 1 year, let's say. When I looked at even slightly, the last 24 months and as well as the more recent 12 months, two things stood out. In April 25, the collections was 2.36 lakh crores. May was 2 lakh crores, 2.01. And effectively, therefore, in the last 12 months, 2 months actually crossed 2 lakh crores. And in the last 24 months, it has happened totally thrice, where April 24 was at 2.10. So that seems to be that magic number that has to be breached. So I don't know if November collections might show that robustness in collections, reflecting the large demand that has translated into consumption in various sectors. So I think we should be in for seeing some very good numbers as far as November collections go, but let's wait and watch. Overall, I think the next month, October, seems to be that there could be much more comforting numbers is one conclusion that we could go with. And let's see how the numbers translate. And at this moment, then we could probably get into the Sumpoorn side of things as to what
just one point
is now in the works.
Yeah, for October, there is also, because of so many holidays, because we just might see a smaller number, but that will be only because of the holidays, not because of the intrinsic economic activity as such, right? So just put that as a caveat.
Some slowdown, maybe you're right. See, October, I think the festivities, probably the stocking has already been done, getting consumed, etc. So one of the things that you had mentioned was about the power demand, right? That was very interesting. And is it something that is very normal, considering this could have been the same behavior that October does witness a lower power demand with festivities, etc.?
Two reasons why this year's power consumption generation in October was low compared to last October is because it was cooler this October compared to last October because of the rains. They continued. And the second thing is because of all the holidays, the factory production demand was lower. So this doesn't mean that there's something, of a concern, but it just means that when we look at a number of production or as economic activity, we might see it slightly lower than otherwise, but definitely not a cause for concern.
Okay.
I thought Nasi wouldn't want me to step in at all. And Nasi had so many things to say this time, Nasi. Great conversation as always. So hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Namrata. I'm part of the executive office at Jakarta. I've been part of the Sumpoorn initiative since we started. In fact, we are celebrating the second anniversary on the 10th since our launch. So lot has happened, and it's all been behind the scenes. We do a lot of work directly with our clients, financial institutions, banks and NBFCs, and of course our patron SIDBI, as well as various partners and think tanks. I just wanted to do something different this month and talk a little bit about what's been going on, glimpses of which everyone hears in the commentary every month. So, and Nasi, you stole my thunder. I was actually going to talk about the state indices this time, but you've already touched on them. But for everyone listening to the podcast, we have been focusing on certain states where there is a lot of MSME dominated states, especially Maharashtra and UP. And we are going to release some of that analysis in our annual report, as well as a sector focus on auto, which again, we unpack every month. In fact, we had Srivat Ram from Wheels India last month, who of course spent a lot of time giving us insights from the sector and from his perspective. Some of the other things we've been doing are the flood analysis, the monsoon disruptions. I know we have opposing views here. Narsi, you feel that the impact has not been a lot. Dr. Sumita feels that there is, and maybe we will see it over time in the value chain. And maybe there'll be both primary and secondary impact that has happened on the MSMEs that will surface in some time. So this is just bits of what's been happening at our end. Maybe see, Dr. Sumita, if we can take just from your perspective, you of course been guiding us to talk about what is the goal with Sumpoorn. How are we unpacking and continuously looking at various levers that are affecting the sector and the movement of the index?
Well, I think I'll probably end up repeating myself. See, Sumpoorn, when we look at it as a whole, while the initial vision was to create a country-level MSME economic activity index that was truly representative of the sector and which did not have any undue bias within the geography, i.e. the states, that it had enough representation of entities of all sizes, because the micro, small and medium, the range of turnovers is very, very wide, and even given the new definition as well. So to be able to bring it all together and to have a robust representation of the economic activity through the lens of credit-seeking companies' performances was the first goal. And that seems to have been reasonably achieved. Albeit there are challenges, of course, but the disaggregation of it, or the decomposition of it into how states are performing, how industries are performing, are there very specific characteristics that are standing out amongst industries or industrial clusters? Because we don't want to simply forget about clusters which have a very, very large bearing, especially my pet area, of course, is auto. And in auto, when you're looking at it, obviously they are supposed to be, the ancillaries are supposed to be closer to the OEMs, the MSMEs are all clustered around it, because the cost of transportation, just-in-time stocking, Sumita and I, we were discussing about the way inventory is being managed now to make working capital be more efficient, with the attitude towards just-in-time stock management. Proximity and clusters are starting to be the mantra for MSMEs to stay relevant in a supply chain ecosystem. And therefore, presenting the behavior of clusters within industry verticals, because the clusters are spread in different states and within the states in different districts, that knowledge is going to dramatically alter the way entity level risk assessments, entity level assessments for working capital, bridge finance, expansion of capacity related funding, trade finance, all of this is going to be founded on this kind of knowledge. So having this in place is very vital. And the other important thing is that there is so much of data that is around us, almost to the extent of paralyzing us, that we need to be able to put it together and read through that in a manner that can allow us to have better interpretation of MSME health.
But just to step in here, Nasi, but the data is disconnected, and that is our effort. That there are pockets of data that are available with different stakeholders, and to have a sort of a cohesive view to put all of that like just looking at auto and our own analysis that we are doing right now, it's not a simple task of asking ChatGPT that what is happening in this sector, and getting faced by the numbers and some of the gibberish.
Firstly, you can analyze only after you can gather the data and create libraries in a very logical and a sensible way. I think from what I understand, the Sumpoorn team is already at it, and we should be in a position to derive very, very meaningful insights out of it, is what I am hoping for.
So actually for me, 2 years ago when I just heard when you first came to me and said that we have this Sumpoorn and we have this MSME Economic Activity Index, I was like really excited because there is nothing at a national level for a high frequency, MSME Economic Activity Indicator. So it really filled in a gap. And, there's a lot of euphoria and like, okay, we've got something new. And then over the next few months, we realized that, okay, it's just becoming another indicator like IIP or PMI or something, it's just like just adding into the set of macro indicators that a person looks at to see what the economy is up to. And then when we started going deeper and deeper into granular and actually started looking at real-time problems. So for this year, when we talk about the monsoon analysis, and we said, it's a question of seeing a headline and saying, okay, it's raining a lot. There are districts which are affected. What does it actually mean for the small businesses? And then going through our databases, matching it with, connecting it to the national rain databases, but seeing our own MSMEs and the bank's portfolios, how are they being impacted? At a very, very granular, disaggregated level, it's like such a, it's a unique place to be in to give some extremely practical, inputs.
Use case, yeah, absolutely.
Perfect use case, and it's not just, the economy is like a 6% growth or something like that. They're actually delivering something which is way deeper than that and insightful for a bank to even understand what is their portfolio at risk. How are their clients being affected, how are their counterparties being affected, and so on and so forth. Putting all that together and delivering it so fast. I was like really impressed with the team, and the vision, of course, and the team and everyone getting it together, and then of course the clients being happy with that kind of insights. So I think we've moved a lot over the last. We moved a lot over the last 2 years, and now when you just said it's 2 years, I realized that gosh, we've really done a lot more than just churning out one number. Even the state analysis.
What is vital is, Sumita, you summed it up so well. What the goal of Sumpoorn should be to deliver actionable insight, and which is very relevant to our stakeholders, especially. We are so very connected to the lending industry, be it from a financial crime prevention perspective, or be it from credit assessment perspective, or digital lending technologies that we offer, etc. This is a very vital piece where you don't stop at throwing a lot of macro information, but you actually translate it into what impact that it has at a borrower entity level or at a portfolio level for an institution, and therefore allow them to immediately either gain traction in a particular sector that they may not have adequate loan book exposures, or reallocate their risk capital, or change the way they want to acquire borrowers or manage them. So at the end of the day, that is what it is. So we must be able to provide actionable insights. So transforming Sumpoorn from something which carries a curiosity value, I'm using with all the information underneath that. It's like the tip of the iceberg that the rest is all hidden below, which we are wanting to now bring forth to be profitably used. That's where it is.
Yes, I think our clients and We had Ms. Zeenat Hamirani also on in June, and you realize that they're also looking for a lot more. They've been supporters of the index, and when we sort of present to them and have these conversations, we realize that there there are signals that they have internal to their own portfolios, but having something, separate that cuts across the entire sector, and then of
Yeah.
course under various subsegments, is a great sort of value add for them to be able to take decisions as an institution.
There's a lot to do.
And
Let's
I
stay
haven't-
focused and start delivering items one by one so that clients immediately start getting the benefit of deploying those pieces of what we are delivering into their day-to-day engagements internally between business and risk and operations, as well as engaging better with the uh, borrowers themselves.
Yeah.
I think that is where we would have delivered what our clients want of us.
So also a request to everyone who's listening to this podcast is to actually get back to us with your comments and questions, and any research questions, and be it is research but which is practical for you to actually use in your business and your operational issues. If we can help you out in any way, then that would really be great. This afternoon's most engaging conversation. Namrata, Mercy, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thank you. See you all next month.
Yes. Okay.